Hello everyone, it's me, Juniper Bloom Mystique. I am an Ascension Master, Master Healer, and a Divine Guide. I'm coming on today with a little bit of an interesting video. Okay, this one is going to be a two-parter, alright, because there's a lot here that I want to cover, first of all. Okay, if you're curious what an Ascension Master is, I encourage you to check out my channel. Okay, I have a lot on here for you to see. Different kinds of things. I've done a lot for this ascension. Okay, take your time and get to know them, and I just ask that you watch everything in its entirety before you understand and process and come up with an opinion. Okay, beyond that, I do a certain few things on my channel. There's a lot of different things here. Okay, because I am an Ascension Master and a Master Healer, a lot of them had different purposes, different meanings at different times. So there's guided meditations, there's Hertz music, there's mantras that I've created, there's all the way down to missing persons and unsolved series. Okay, and the reason I do these is because I'm a little bit different in that way. I actually had very special beings come through me for these, very special people who were alive here on this earth at one point, and what happened to them. And it actually played a big part in the ascension process as well. If you're curious to know what that is, again, watch the videos on my channel to understand what I'm talking about. But it continued on. So from the moment I had an awakening about 3 years ago, I've always been asked what happened to people, solve these things, and I can feel them in a crazy way. Like, I really tune in. I can feel things, I see things. Not only that, I also process that piece of their life. And so that's the true purpose of it for me. What happens with it in the actual physical realm, I really don't focus on. I do hope it brings justice, don't we all? That is absolutely my goal. It tends to anyways, because they start rising in the collective whole. Okay, so once I do these, they tend to start rising in the collective whole. It starts taking it out of hiding, shining light into the darkness, so to speak. Okay, so it'll clear it karmically. At the very least. And so that's my main focus. The more that we do of these, the more the ascension occurs, the more our vibration rises, the more we solve these things going, the things that make you go, right? This world is not what it seems. I'll tell you that right now. So I don't care what they tell you and make you think. This world is not what it seems. Okay? With that being said, that's why I do these things, these series, okay? And again, if they're solved in the physical too because of it, I'm even happier. Because they really do matter to me. So I get a little bit... Took me a while to get into these because I feel them, I process them, I feel all their emotions. I help them take back their light into the other side, right? So we always leave fragments of our soul behind when we do these, a lot of times too, when trauma happens and things. So there's a lot to these. It's a lot more than just me tuning in to deliver the hot gossip. However, it's also hot gossip, isn't it? So for today's, I'm doing this two-parter because this one is different, okay? This one's a little bit different. This one has a few people involved, and I'll tell you how I got to the idea that this is the one that I wanted to do next. It started with thinking about the Kardashian and Kourtney Kardashian and her current husband, Travis Barker. Now, Travis Barker was the first one I thought about because I'm not going to lie, I've got a little crush on this guy, right? Like, I always thought he was a really good-looking guy, and there was something about him that just didn't seem, like everybody else. And so I was really curious about it. And then when he married Kourtney Kardashian, I'm like, well, I can see why she likes him. I don't think she's crazy for that. But I'm like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. So then I started thinking about the Kardashians. Now that's a whole loaded shotgun, right? Because there's a ton of those. Then I started thinking about Kanye West. And I'm like, well, who is Kanye West? And what's wrong with him? Why does he do the things that he does? Then that got me all the way back to the Kardashians again, and where did they go dark? Like, who are they? What's up with them? Are they dark? Who are they, right? Like, what do we do here? Tell me about them. I mean, I can feel their energy already, right? So let's just not, we don't even need to like really tune in too hard to figure that one out. But I was like, okay, let's go back to what happened there. And what I always tune into with their energy, here we are with O.J. Simpson. And I'm like, holy shit. Why didn't I think of this before? What really happened with O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman? Okay, now, I think if you were alive at all in any given time, you've probably heard about that story. Okay, so that's where I'm going to start. But I will tell you, this is going to cover Travis Barker. God, he's a hottie, and so I want to find out about him to find out if he's of the light, and if he's not, I'm going to be sad. And so I don't know fully yet. I only tuned in a little bit. I'm going to do this one kind of on video. And then we have the Kardashians. I'm really curious, right? And then we have, which I have a feeling they are just definitely swimming in a cesspool of darkness. Let's just go there. Okay, so we have them. We have Kanye. Travis Barker, Kanye, Kardashians are just a byproduct because they're like the whole tangled web. I feel like they're like the tentacles holding this all together. And then we have O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. So that's really who it's about. Travis Barker, Kanye West, O.J. Simpson, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Ron Goldman. And then the glue that holds them all together somehow in this weird tie is the Kardashians. So this one's going to be fun for me, actually. And, you know, there was a murder in this one. And so this one kind of goes a lot of different places, doesn't it? Because I'm going to start with Nicole Brown Simpson, O.J. Simpson, and Ron Goldman. That one happened, I think it was 94 and 95, 1994 and 1995. I was alive, but I was pretty young at the time. I was not even high school at that time. I was younger than that. And I remember this occurring. I remember hearing about it. I remember sitting down and watching it on TV thinking, this is boring. I really don't want to know about this. But the whole world was engulfed in this one. The whole world was like engulfed in what happened to Nicole Brown Simpson. She was this beauty. I don't know if she was a model. O.J. Simpson was a football player. I don't remember what team he worked for. Because I should research these, but for me the most important information is the stuff I get without research, so I really don't do research on them. And I don't remember all those details. I don't know if it was the 49ers, I don't know. For all you football fans, no offense, please don't get mad at me for not knowing what team O.J. Simpson was on. Again, I was a kid when it went down, right? Pretty young. So I did not care less about football or anything like that at that time. The murder was intriguing, and then it was plastered all over everywhere we went, and so you couldn't really avoid it, right? And so we're going to start with that one. This is going to be part one. I will do part two probably next week for you all to finish off with, and we will end with Travis Barker and Kanye West. Okay, so stay tuned for those two, because like I said, Travis Barker, I'm going to be sad if he's like, you know, something's going on there, because he had that health scare, remember? So we'll see. Maybe I can get it all done in one video. Don't quote me on part one and part two. Maybe I can get it all done in one video. We will see how long this takes today. I make no guarantees. I leave it open for part one and part two, just in case. Okay, so O.J. Simpson, what an odd character, right? Now, we all know he even wrote that book, like, if I did it, I would have done this, or something like that. Like, everything points to the fact that he did it. And so I called on the energies that I call on, and I called on her, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Ron Goldman. And there was actually a lot of love there. Ron Goldman still has a lot of love for her to this day. But I will tell you, the first thing she said is O.J. Simpson. So he did the trial, right? Here's the tie. He did the trial. They held a trial for O.J. Simpson because Nicole Brown Simpson was brutally murdered along with Ron Goldman outside their home. I think it was in California. Please don't quote me on that either. And then they chased O.J. Simpson down the highway in a white Bronco. You might have heard of that. It was like the legit popular white Bronco chase. And then somehow, even after chasing him down the street, everything pointed to him doing it. They held a trial with him, and it was Kardashian, the husband. Was his name Robert Kardashian? That's what I wrote down. I know it's his son's name also, and I didn't research that. But his name might have been Robert Kardashian, and that's who they named Robert Kardashian after. I'm not positive. I'm not positive. I didn't look that up, but that's what I got. I think the father's name might have been that. It was a Kardashian, the leader, the one that was the lawyer. He was an attorney, and he defended O.J. Simpson. There's your tie-in to the Kardashians. That's also really when the whole Kardashian family went to the dark side. Okay, it's kind of like when you sell your soul to the devil for money and fame. Because, you know, even if, let's say, you didn't do it, but you help cover it up, you help keep it quiet, or you do that for money and fame, well, if you just do this, you know, you guys will be okay for the rest of your life. You know, what do? That's what they did. Okay, that's what I'm getting. Okay, and so somehow O.J. Simpson got away with that murder. Everybody pretty much knew he was. I remember at the trial, and everybody got really upset because of that. Like, it was huge, huge news that he was acquitted of murder. I mean, the glove didn't fit, right? They found a glove on the scene, and it supposedly didn't fit his hand, and all this other kind of stuff. And so because of that, you must acquit because the glove didn't fit. I mean, you guys might have remembered this stuff. I do, and I was pretty young. But you couldn't avoid this. It was really big news back in like 1994, 1995. He was a football player. He did brutally murder her. So what I saw when I asked what happened to her is her standing there with Ron Goldman. I think they were having a conversation, a friendly conversation. And it was like it caught, what she showed me is it caught her by surprise. It's like a knife coming at and it wasn't even like methodical. It was like a revenge slashing, like that's what I see. And it was like a knife just coming at her. And I do believe it was a knife. I think they even may have found a knife on the scene. I don't remember, but I wrote knife, so for sure she did validate that it was him. It was absolutely him, and it was out of jealousy. It was slashed at. That's the way she described it. It was like all of a sudden I was slashed at. Like all of a sudden I was slashed at, and she had this like, is this really coming at me? So when things occur, she says, it does almost happen in slow motion, even if in the real world it's happening like really fast. So to us it may have been like whoosh, where to her it was like she had time to think about this. Is this really happening? Is this really coming? And then boom, right? And so that's her version of it. And I feel like, oddly enough, somehow with the rage or whatever was going on, he got both of them kind of at the same time. Okay, it's like one and then the other, very quickly. And they both did kind of watch each other go down. That is the gist of what I'm getting here. And it was a revenge killing. This was absolutely, if I can't have you, you're not going to flaunt around with somebody else. Okay? Especially living off of my dime. I believe that O.J. Simpson just felt like he was very powerful, and I do believe he had a lot of money, and he may have been paying her money. But either way, this was about control. It says he was always abusive. So I started channeling it, and I wrote this one down, and then I'm like, I'm just going to roll with this. But he absolutely wanted. It was planned. Like, that's the best thing I can tell you guys. It was absolutely methodically planned out. Like, in other words, like, I'm tired of this. I think he had thought about it a couple times. Like, is this my only way out of this situation? Because he was pissed. He is so used to control, and he wasn't getting the control in this one. And so he was going to do what he had to do. It was absolutely out of jealousy. I feel like in one of his thought processes in this plan, like, it wasn't the best laid out plan. I feel like he's a little bit like spontaneous and sporadic in that. Like, I don't like this, so he acts upon those emotions, O.J. Simpson. So, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that even played out later on in his life, too, with, like, robberies and weird things like that. He thinks, like, his ego is quite large. He thinks he's quite invincible, probably because the people he knew, the money he had, the clout, and things like that. And also, when you're in sports at that time, what they're pointing to is the way that they would treat you as sportsmen. Like, you can be a criminal, and they would still hide everything for you and pay you a lot and have you be that athlete. And so this was kind of commonplace, right? Like, it was thought of as normal to take matters into your own hands, quote unquote, is what they're referring to. That's what they're referring to here, is they would look at it as taking matters into your own hands. and the ability to do so. Okay, and so going with that ego forward, he didn't like the situation in which he found himself with Nicole Brown Simpson, who wanted out. He was very controlling of her, and she didn't like it. This is what I'm seeing. Like, even with her going out with her girlfriends and things like that. Like, it was to the point where she's making me feel and see these scenarios. Like, this one time, I feel like she went out with her girlfriend and he would like hit on the girlfriends. Like, we could do like a threesome. Like, I feel like that's who this guy is. OJ Simpson. Like, you give me what I want, but you can't do what you want. That's not acceptable. No guy can look at you. Nothing can be done with you, right? Unless I say so. Okay? And this is how he was. So it was okay for him to like flirt with her friends, but at the same time, he didn't like her going out with her friends. This is what she's showing me his personality was, and the things that he would do, and the way he would act, and the way he would respond to her, and the kind of control that he was always putting on to her. Okay? And I feel like she was well educated. I feel like she really did want an education. She wanted to further something. She wanted to do something. She actually, I feel like Ron Goldman was more of a friend of hers, especially at first. I do feel like they did maybe get intimate. But, you know, there's a lot of love there, okay, especially from Ron Goldman to her, right? Like, everybody loved her. But I feel like she wanted her own prestige. Like, she had plans. Like, she was, like, business savvy. She wanted to own her own business. She wanted to be an entrepreneur. And that's really where she was trying to go towards. And I feel like her and Ron Goldman may have been collaborating and such. They may have had a plan. They may have had an idea. They may have, this is maybe where their relationship began. Is talking about something along those lines. Like, gosh, I think you would be really good at this. Well, gosh, why don't we collaborate? Well, goodness, wouldn't that be a great idea? And I feel like deep down, Ron Goldman really did always love her. I really do feel this. I don't know where they met exactly. They're not showing me that. Like, they met years before this, and they were just friends, right? That's what I hear. So they met way prior, and they were just friends. And they are pointing to something about like a book, and a whole bunch of drama occurred because of this. So this situation, it entails their family members as well. Like, it's very deep on the karmic scale. That's what they're showing me. With Ron Goldman, Nicole Brown Simpson, OJ Simpson, the ties, and the ripple effect this whole event created. It like karmically entailed the whole families on all sides. More than you would know is what they're showing me, okay? And so really, it's kind of like almost like, man, I was related to that person, and because they did this, it affected the whole tribe. It's somewhat like that, in a sense, right? It's rather strange. There's like some really strange karmic tie here, all related. After the fact, it's like a ripple effect. It went down and went through the families, and it caused a lot of drama. It caused a lot of strife. It caused a lot of heartache to continue. So it was not like just a one and done. Like, it, not even just in the sense of we lost this person. This is unsolved and it hurts me every day. Like, the drama continued. It carried over. And I think what they're pointing to is there was kind of like some deal that went on, and they were supposed to like, O.J. Simpson maybe wrote a book for it, and Ron Goldman and them were trying to get money for it, and like all this kind of stuff. So, his family, right? And so the tie just kept continuing. Like, the suffrage kept continuing. The karma tie kept continuing after this one main event. Okay, so the karma is quite deep. It's not just literally a slaying. I hope that makes sense for what I'm just reading the energy. I'm showing you what they want me to show you. And because I'm tuning in, all of this is involved, and so I must rise it to the surface, okay? And I'm doing this a different way. Normally I'll channel these, and I'll do them very quickly, but Spirit's telling me, right? Like, go deeper. And so that's truly what I'm trying to do. And so I have no pen, nothing. I'm just kind of doing this right here with you. Ron Goldman, I can see him. Nicole, I can see her. They're definitely, I feel like, 80s. But even this was early to mid-90s when this event occurred, but I just smell 80s all over them. You know, that was my decade. That was the years I was born in. So it's very like a familiar smell. It's the best way I can say. But they were very nice. I feel like beachgoers, like tan, both very into their looks. They were both into prestige. They really were. This is what they're telling me. Like, they both had high hopes, high dreams. They wanted to be people. Like, Ron Goldman really did want to help change things, but he also, wanted to be successful in doing so. Something with golf. He had a lot of ambitions, a lot of different areas that he would go to. He would frequent some golf club, like a club, what else? There's just a lot he's trying to throw out about himself. So I'm just kind of showing you the energies on that, their purpose for meeting, where they were going to take it. It's a business proposition. Kind of like the leaders of the pack. Like, we are going to take this in a whole new way. We're going to change the game of this type of business that we were doing. And it didn't really take off yet, right? This was all talk. But OJ, in his mind, he's like, there's no way you're going to leave me. There's no way I'm going to pay you. There's no way you're going to make a mockery of my name. He was completely about control. And so even if they weren't in a relationship, in his mind, they were. There was no getting him out of that in any way. This was truly about, like, I feel like even if it wasn't a relationship, I feel like this would have happened to her no matter what. In time. That's what I'm feeling here. It's like he did not like her taking her power back at all. He didn't like it. He didn't like it at all. And he was going to show her either way. But this kind of fueled the fire even more. I feel like there was an attempt at a conversation that he had with her, and she denied him. And he had just had enough. This is the energy I'm picking up on. And what she's showing me is, again, I was just suddenly slashed. He slashed me. I don't know if she really thought he was going to do that. It's not that the threat wasn't there. She always felt in danger from him, but in the end, he never did anything beforehand. And so there was an element of surprise. There was a bit of surprise there. It's not to say that he wasn't capable, and she wants to make that quite clear. Make sure everybody knows that I knew he was capable. I think she even told somebody it may come. There may be even a girlfriend, somebody she knew, may have been Ron, where she told him it may come someday. He may just be the death of her. So to speak, right? Like, if something happens to me, it was him, I guarantee you that. And so she knew he was capable, but there's still a major element of surprise here. Like, I really didn't expect it to go that way, right? Like, almost like there was an argument, almost like I'm not going to give you what you want, but I really didn't expect it to go that way. Because I think what he was accusing wasn't exactly accurate, kind of a thing. So it's like a heated exchange, okay? And I feel like Ron Goldman really was almost at the wrong place at the wrong time, meaning that it did fuel his fire. It's what sent him over the edge, but either way, it was going to happen to her at some point, give or take. I feel like he had already been planning something for her. This is exactly what they're showing me. It may not have been that exact moment, which is why some of his stuff is sporadic. So remember, I talked about that with OJ. It's like he likes his power. He doesn't want anybody telling him what to do or telling him he can't. When he hears no, he doesn't like that. That's a trigger for him. He doesn't like the word no. He is got a big ego, and he thinks he's large and in charge, and he really does not like the word no. And I feel like that was like a trigger word for him in a lot of ways. Okay? And no matter what, eventually he would have gotten to that place with her because she had already been telling him no. This has been a new thing for her, but not new thing for her. Like, she started taking her power back prior, like, right? At least 6 months to a year prior. I feel like they may have already been divorced, separated, I'm not exactly sure. She was already calling that power back, okay? She's given me the relevant info. And she said he actually called a few people right afterwards. It wasn't just, but it was, one of them was the Kardashian. And another one was his manager. That's what she said. Okay? And asking everybody, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And even like in the car ride, I do believe he was on the phone at one point asking, what do I do? What do I do? And so there were actually, in the end, multiple people involved in the getting away of this crime. But it's quite obvious. There's never been another suspect, by the way. Even if they tell you there has never been another suspect. He is absolutely guilty, and he knows he's guilty. And he thinks it's a joke. It's part of his ego. He's quite a narcissistic character. And so remorse is not in his forte, okay? You can look at it as sociopathic behavior for O.J. Simpson. And I do believe throughout the years he's gotten in trouble in other ways too, which makes sense for his sporadic, spontaneous, like, I planned this but I didn't kind of attitude, right? Like, well, yeah, I always knew I was going to hurt you in some way, shape, or form, or I would at least retaliate if you took me too far. I just didn't know what and when and how and too far would be. Like, I had multiple plans in my head for you. And this is the kind of person he is. I feel like if you know him, he's got multiple plans. He plays out how the relationship is going to go with people. And when it doesn't exactly go his way, he's not too happy, okay? And so that's what happened to Nicole. All right, she was absolutely snuffed out. Slashed at, that's what she wrote. She had me write with a knife. Which is quite intimate, okay? And so there was a revenge. This was absolutely revenge. I want you to suffer. And so I feel like she watched him hurting Ron, and vice versa, Ron seen him hurting her. I feel like he wanted that to occur. He wanted them to suffer. It wasn't exactly a very quick passing. It was a struggle. A struggle ensued, a struggle went down. They both suffered a little bit, okay, but that's what he wanted. And this is the kind of person she wants me to give you guys insight into with O.J. Simpson. He is just quite, like, there is no remorse, okay? But he's not the planner. He's not, like, he doesn't want to be the mafia boss, but he just wants everything his way. And if you don't make it my way, I'm not happy. And you're going to know that. Okay? So that's what happened there. Then the Kardashians get involved here. Okay? Now, keep in mind that this OJ thing is not the only darkness at play here. There's a lot of darkness at play here that was already created before the OJ Simpson incident. And that's what they're trying to show me, to show you guys, is that in anywhere where there's lots of money. So think about that in our world. Anywhere there's lots of money. Government, Hollywood, sports. We are big sports fans here in the United States of the US of A, right? Especially football. A lot of people really get into that. There's like millions of dollars in football, okay? Those contracts that they sign are millions of dollars, right? And so to some degree, a lot of those, just like I said, would do a lot like that. Even Hernandez guy, right? Like, he was like murdering people and they would cover it up for him, and so that way he could still continue playing the football and making the money. And so this is kind of going into the whole energy that is entwined in all of this. So what are the Kardashians famous for? We don't really know. In truth, it was this moment, okay? The whole entire clan. It's like when you have an opportunity for money and fame and you keep your mouth shut, do you not think that that's like going over into that dirty side of it, right? So to speak. Okay? Now, all at different levels. I'll tell you that with the Kardashians. They're all at different levels. Okay? But they're all in the cesspool of shit. It's all dirty, dirty, dirty money and dirty, dirty fame. Okay? It is absolutely dirty money and dirty fame. And that's what it was based on. And so, even if people love them and, oh, that can't be, they're the light, blah, blah, blah. Not really, no, not so much, okay? All at different levels. But if they're actively participants, what do you think that does? Right? Like, even though I was born into this, I'm still playing in the dirty cesspool. So that makes me just as guilty as the rest. Death by association. So there's a lot of energy of that here, okay? Because it all ties back to the O.J. Simpson, but it also ties beyond that, right? Like, it's not just that. I feel like the whole thing is tainted. So the whole football avenues, they're all tainted in a lot of ways. Within football and within sports, there's not a lot that isn't tainted when it deals with that kind of money, okay? A lot of them just, it's like this control thing. There's no way all of this money was going to be in play and not me try to control it, kind of a thing. And that's what that energy does, okay? And have you ever heard of the saying evil money, right? Money is evil. It's the energy with it. And so it depends on how you handle the money. It depends on how you handle the situations. If you go against what we would say is like the light in order to benefit for money, stealing, lying, cheating, allow murder to occur, and keep your mouth shut in order to get that fame and that money, it's all tied in. It's all tied in. And then if you look at the Kardashians, how they rose from that and then all of a sudden became like super famous. They had like a blueprint of how to make Kim rise. Like, it's true. Like, they did all of these things and they're all like TV famous when they weren't before. You know what I mean? They're not actors and actresses. That's not what they were known for. But if you look at it now, they were given that fame in all the tentacles. Does that make sense, you guys? I hope this makes sense. Because there's a lot of darkness. Oh, the web we weave. Like, the more I do these, it's that web. There's a web that just went really deep throughout all of this space. Okay? And when you play in the game, each time you play a little bit, you sell your soul a little bit. You can consider it that, right? Like, there's in the music industry, there's a lot of this. Have you heard of that crossroads sign where the guy sold his soul to play music really good and be famous? This brings me back to Travis Barker. We'll get into that one later. You see what I'm saying? It's like a tangled web we weave. Okay? Tangled web we weave. All right? And then if you look at the people who are in their space for too long, it kind of really just starts to muck them up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It really does. There's like this energy about. There's energy that they all play in that is not yummy. It's not pleasant. Okay? And a lot of times, like back to OJ, is when you do things like this and you get away with them. Okay, how many times in history have you heard cases like that? Well, like Casey Anthony, she's a good one. Growing up, I think her father was a police officer, and she would do things and get away with it. They would cover it up for her. This creates a scenario of narcissistic behavior at the least. Okay? We throw money at things, we go shopping, we don't deal with pain, we don't deal with that stuff. We ignore it, we sweep it under the rug, and we fill that space with a dark void, right? Like money and other things, and you can get away with everything that way. And throughout history, anytime that's occurred, I think there's even a name for it now that they have. There was this one case where this kid drove drunk into a crowd of people and killed like 12 people. And they called it rich man syndrome, if that's not the correct word. But they coined a term for it, psychologically speaking, that's saying, you know, if you're raised in a certain way from money and you're not taught right from wrong, this is the scenario you get. So they were trying to relieve his guilt in the scenario due to the fact that he was raised in that way, okay? Which is the kind of same thing that was with Casey Anthony, but they didn't take it that way. Like, they probably could have. But they didn't take it that way. That was before this one. This case and this scenario came out in this new term that they've coined, psychologically speaking. So you see what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, because I wasn't taught any better. You know, well, you're still in the cesspool. You're still giving away your light. And each time you do that, each time you agree to do those behaviors, you give it away more and more and more and more until the next thing you know, you're so far gone you don't see it that way anymore. Okay, and so that's kind of like, hey, we've got all this money, we've got all this fame, and this is the game we play in, and you can play our way or you're out the door. Okay, which is the Kardashian clan. All right, I do feel like there's a couple of them that I was always drawn to, and it was Kourtney, and what's her name? It was Kourtney and the other sister, the one that I was thinking that's not her dad. What the heck's her name? See, I don't really get into these guys too much. The revenge body one. Kourtney, Kim. Anyway, see, I'm not really into them. I'm not somebody who really focuses on a lot of these things. And I've always known that they were kind of off. Except for her, but I don't think that's her dad, by the way. Remember they've had episodes where they were questioning the biological relation between the Kardashian dad and Kourtney, Kim, and... Why am I drawing a blank on her name? Her face is right in my head. Anyways, I don't think that's her dad. I think there was a different dad there. But they don't want to tell everybody that. I think they kept that part hush-hush. But her and Kourtney always stood out to me as a little different. And they are. You can kind of tell they're different. Okay? Which is interesting because then Kourtney started dating my dude, Travis, right? Like, I would have dated him. So I wanted to know about him. Like, something's not right now, right? And so unfortunately, to say the least, I think they're all kind of tangled in the same kind of web we weave. But I want to personally know more about Travis Barker and Kanye West. So I think maybe we can cover it all in this video, okay? Because I'm in the web, I'm in the energy, and I'm just going to keep going. But we're going to do Kanye West next, okay? Because, again, Kourtney and her sister, Chloe, thank you, Chloe, always stood out to me as different, okay? But I still feel like, unfortunately, they play in the tangled web. And so, do they have darkness there? Yeah, they play in it. They benefit from it on a daily. Are they 100% like the rest of them? No, they stand out differently, and you can tell. And they always have, Chloe and Kourtney Kardashian, okay? Which is interesting because then Kourtney recently, within the last year, started dating Travis Barker. And I thought that was very interesting. And this all kind of occurred in the same time my twin flame thing occurred. And I'm like, huh, it's all kind of very interesting. That's neither here nor there for you guys. But in between that time, Kim married Kanye. Kimye, right? Wasn't that their name? Kim married Kanye West. What a strange pairing. Oh my good Lord. Did you guys already, first of all, think that that was the weirdest pairing in the world? Why? And those two do not even seem to have sexual chemistry to me. Am I the only one who thinks that? Like, seriously, you guys, am I the only one who thinks that way? Outside of being connected, outside of knowing things from the other side. Something is wrong with that pairing. Kanye West and Kim Kardashian do not fit together. Like, even seeing them in the same room, there's absolutely zero chemistry there. And I'm hearing absolutely planned. So there was something arranged there. Okay, and that's what they're telling me. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. So Kim Kardashian has more issues than we're aware of, and that's what they're saying. She actually struggles in a lot of ways, especially with relationships. And I feel like quite a few of hers have either been chosen or arranged. And that's what they're showing me here. I feel like she wanted to be normal. She wanted to do something. She wanted more attention. It's like the next phase. And a lot of her life is mapped out in that way. Like, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to look like this, you're going to speak like this. And that's kind of how she started out a long time ago. Like, a long time ago. Like, they took stock of her fame from a very young age. The whole thing was like, hey, our whole family is going to be like this, right? Like, just kept going and going and going and going. And so I feel like what they're pointing to is, like, she really struggles socially a lot. She struggles with relationships a lot. She doesn't know how to have tight relationships with a lot of people. And you guys are not aware of that. So what you see on TV is a lot of portrayments, right? It's not a lot of reality. A lot of the time you're getting some things that are just not quite accurate. So keep that in mind as well. But I do believe Kim and Kanye, because, see, Kim does things out of the public eye, right? And so she's always going for the next level of fame, the next level of, oh, she did that? And I feel like that took play into this. So remember a while back, Kanye was like making a lot of stock in the media, making a lot of attention for his behaviors. How do I put this? Think of it like a puppet handler. I'm a puppet handler. And I'm like over here just creating this play with all these lives. And this is what I'm seeing. So there's somebody bigger than the Kardashians. There's somebody bigger than Kimye. There's somebody bigger than all of them, okay? And it's like they're a puppeteer and they're just out holding their things, and this is what they're showing me. Travis Barker's different, though, and I always knew that. And he still does have a leg in the light. I was really hoping so. But that's still not putting him in the clear, though, is it? Okay. Back to Kim Ye and all of this. So there's like some puppeteer, all right? And so it's like we can work within the confines of this situation. We can always do things within the confines. And when we don't agree, you kind of get ousted, hence their brother and things like that. I mean, you can kind of look at it, right? Look at that. Like, he's not well. He's done not well over time, mentally, physically, and they've kept him out of the spotlight in those moments. And then he would try to re-enter with some scenario, and it wouldn't work out. So it's either you play a certain way or you don't, right? Either you can handle it or you cannot. How far do you go with selling your light, right? Like, how far are you willing to play in their little I'm your puppeteer. You're going to do what I say. You may want a little bit of what you want, but we're going to do it my way. Okay, and so that's kind of the energy I feel here. I know it's weird, but I feel like maybe Kim did want a family. Maybe she wanted to look normal, right? Like, they needed to kind of look like that. They want to be normal. They kind of wanted to be moms and keep the bloodline going, whether it's moms or not. They wanted to keep that going. I feel like the mother, the matriarch, really just wants to keep the numbers going. The more bloodline she creates, the happier she feels. Okay? Which is a thing of control as well. So you can look at that in like monarchies and things like that. If we keep this all in the bloodline, we're good to go. The more my bloodline spreads, we're good to go. So they would even do like crazy inbreeding stuff back then. I'm not saying the Kardashians are inbred, I don't think so, but I do think there's a little bit of AI going on here as well with like Kim, okay? And I feel like Kanye as well, but he struggles with it. I feel like that's the play we're seeing play out here. And so on a mental note, it's like, how much can some handle? Some can handle more than others can. And I feel like Kanye cannot handle a lot. He has a thing about speaking too much sometimes. He has like puke out the mouth syndrome type things sometimes. And so how do you control people like that? It's a lot of threatening them, and it's a lot of keeping them at a certain bar, a certain level. And so in a crazy way, and whether you guys believe me or not, is what they're showing me, I feel like Kim Ye, their kids, were quite planned. And somehow I feel very detached from Kim as a mother. There is absolutely no, and I don't know why I'm saying this. I don't watch the show. I'm tuning into the energy, you guys. And on a crazy, crazy level, when I tune into Kim as a mother, it's like non-existent. And I don't know if that means that she really didn't have those babies or what is in it. I always thought this even before I was awake. What was going on with them? It didn't feel right when she had her kids. Like, it really didn't. Something feels absolutely detached there. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's because maybe she's just not motherly because she is so robotic. That's a good way to put it. She was kind of raised robotic. That's all she really knows how to be, is robotic. And so physically, her body is different, right, because of it. Maybe it's all of that in line, but there's something there. There's something not quite right with those kids, with the attachment they have to her as a mother. There's like something missing. So I'm really in tune with kids and mothers. I'm a mother myself, but even everywhere I go, I can tell when people are pregnant. I can tell when somebody's going to be pregnant. I can tell what the sex of the baby is. And so I'm very in tune with life. That's who I am as a healer, the master healer that I am, the things that I've had to do and clear in this lifetime, and others, I'm sure. But I'm very in tune with that, as my point. And when I tune in here as Kim as a mother, it's non-existent. It's very empty. It's a bottomless pit. It's as if like we have this person that's too far gone from a human being now, but we still want to give her the view of a human being life. Like the soul that used to be there still wants kind of those normalities, even if it's completely disconnected. Does that make sense? And that's what I'm getting here. And Kanye is an in-between. Okay? He's struggling. He's struggling with this control. So on an individual level, it affects people at different levels. Okay, he does have a little bit of a mental issue going on here, and that I do see that. But it's all because of like the disconnect. So if I constantly mess with your soul, if I constantly put drugs in you, if you're constantly wanting drugs and doing things of that nature, but you're constantly messing with your conscious, your subconscious, your psyche, it can start to take a toll on you. Have you ever heard of, drug-induced psychosis? It makes you kind of psychotic if you do too much. I've seen this with meth patients a lot. They do so many, they become psychotic. They're just not normal anymore. They're very paranoid, schizophrenic type of behaviors. Similar situation with Kanye is what I'm feeling here. Like, he has a really hard time controlling some things. He acts out because it's too much control on him. Okay? Kind of like Britney Spears used to do. But Britney Spears actually didn't sell her soul in any way, shape, or form. Where Kanye has a little bit. Does this make sense? So if I agree to this to gain this, guess what I just did? Shit. Man. Okay. Now, going to Kourtney and Travis Barker. By the way, they want me to tell you something else about Kanye. Okay? He's in some legal troubles you're not aware of. So there's something going on with Kanye legally that people are not aware of. And they keep it quite hush-hush. That's why sometimes he's got like these really weird sporadic outbursts and just crazy behaviors. There's a lot about him that they keep hush-hush. They try to keep covered up, right? Because he just doesn't play well. He doesn't play well with that side. He's not doing too well. I feel like it's almost like, man, you duped me into selling my soul and now I'm pissed off and I want it back. And we're just going to keep battling this out. He's like in a battle for his soul. That's what I feel about Kanye. And it's taken a mental toll on him. And if you guys don't believe this, look around and wake up. Like, it happens a lot more than you would think. Even me in my twin flame journey, there's a contract where I'm so entwined with him, I can understand that on a certain level. Like, we affect each other's soul. It's like crazy. But ours is not of that, right? It's totally different. And so I kind of can recognize this. I kind of understand what this means. And the reason I'm holding off on Travis Barker, my dudes, is because, I'm like really into him. Like, I really do like him. He's an oddball, right? He's quite eccentric. And I feel like it's the same thing with him. Like, what I heard is he definitely sold his soul. Okay, I feel like with Travis Barker, he did. He sold his soul. But again, it's like Kourtney and Chloe and Travis Barker. These three, Kourtney, Chloe, and Travis Barker, stand out from that crowd for me. And not in a bad way. And I have a feeling, like, I don't know if they're going to be able to ascend in this lifetime, but they may have a chance to in another. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like Travis Barker, Kourtney, and Chloe are a different breed. They're a little bit different from the rest. Kourtney, I'm a little less intrigued with than I am Chloe and Travis Barker. I just feel like there's a part of them that may not have gone as far as the rest and chooses not to do so. Okay? Does it mean they're completely there? No. Now, I want to go into Travis Barker even more because when I first tuned into him, they said right away he sold his soul. And I got really sad because, again, I really like it. Now, how do I like somebody that's not of the light? Okay, so I want to figure that out. Is it Blink-182 is what I keep hearing, so maybe he's in that band, drummer, or leads, whatever he was for this band, okay, drummer. Travis Barker recently was hospitalized with a health scare. This is not AI. This is not anything like that. Him and Kourtney were not set up, which they're not used to, and I think that's what caused the stir. Kourtney really loves him. She really does. And he really loves her. the weird thing is here, though, is I feel like Kourtney is like death by association, where I think Travis Barker has had a different road. I feel like for music, he decided to do some things. But again, he like has like a leg in the light. So, I'm rooting for him. I'm actually rooting that he'll get more leg in the light. And they're saying not likely, but there's a chance. Okay? It's like when you go so far. And I think there was even a weird story about him where he was in a plane crash and he was the only survivor. Again, I don't get into this stuff on the media side. It's what stands out for me and the information that stands out and what I need to know. Okay? Now I just kind of want to tune into his energy even more. So he is frail. So I'm tuning into his energy as much as I can. Okay, keep that in mind. It's like I have to get permission from his higher self kind of a thing. Like I cannot just all of a sudden take over his space and know anything about him he won't want me to know. But he is frail. That is true. There's more to the story than meets the eye, though. There's more here than they're not telling you. So I think he's been sick for a little bit. I think he's had a couple of episodes. I think he does strange things for his health so that he can keep okay. Like he's very frail. Like he has to actually maintain a certain health status quo by doing certain things because it just tanks. Like it'll go down really fast. That's what they're showing me. So this is not like his first health scare. I feel like his health goes down really fast. Almost like my immune system's low, but in a really weird way, right? And so what I'm seeing is like almost like when you do things for money and fame, here we go again, and you aren't really of the light, but we're alive and we're here, and it's because we're living on a different kind of borrowed time. And this borrowed time is absolutely fading. It's being messed with. It's being put under check, so to speak. And so there's a battle here with that. So what they're showing me with him is he's in an internal battle. This is truly like also an internal battle with him. I'm just not sure he's going to choose the other way. It's too much work. Like there's too much he would have to oust. There's too much you'd have to overcome and succumb to. And I feel like they may have a baby. They may absolutely have a baby. I feel like I see a little girl or something. We just got to give it time to play out. I'm kind of like, can't he like choose better? He has some choices to make. We all do. We all have choices to make. We all can make things right. And so all I can say is I do feel like sending energy that way for whatever reason. I don't know if it has any good to do with anything or if it's going to make any kind of difference. But I feel like I need to send light that way. So it's almost like, I didn't really have a choice. Like this was my choice at the time. And I did it for love. So it's almost like in a way he sold himself for love, which is really strange. So I've talked about a heart review, and when we pass away, it's recorded in the Akasha records what we did in our life. We're supposed to clear certain amounts of karma and things like that and learn about love. And they record what you accomplished within your lifetime. And in that, the way that God judges is not like the way people judge. People judge quite differently. Oh, if you're late, you're going to hell. Oh, he's tattooed from head to toe, he's going to hell. Shut up. Okay, it's not true. He might have liver damage from all the ink in his system because, I've got tats and I know that happens. But it's a price we pay. We don't live forever, right? But it's not because he has tattoos. I feel like there was parts of him, like when he was a kid, I don't think he had a great childhood. I feel like he was forced to grow up quickly, like almost like he had to be the man of a house at the age of like 12 years old. almost like he was emancipated at a very young age type of feeling, like now I'm responsible for myself and for siblings or for other people. And so there was always this energy surrounding him. And so there's an element or an aspect to what he did almost being done out of a form of love. I want to do this to help my family. I want to do this to be okay. I want to do this for them, even though it was distorted. Okay? And so with that, it's like, can I manipulate your free will? Yes. And that's what happens a lot. And so when it's completely manipulated and it's not matching our heart, there's a difference. Now, when I look at his heart, I would say it's maybe half dark, half light. That's Travis Barker. He's literally a half blood. He's got like a chunk of him in the darkness. But there's a piece of him that did it for a distorted version of love. And so that would make his life review quite complicated. And which is why I was really intrigued into him. And then again with Kourtney and Khloe. Kourtney less than Khloe. Khloe definitely stands out from them. Probably because her bloodline is not as deep as the others. Consider the source. Okay? This is what I've got. This is what I've got for you all. This is what I tuned in. I was really curious to know about these energies. You guys, I don't play in the area of what ifs. I don't play in the area of that's not possible. They had cameras. They had all this stuff. I don't play in that because there's always more than meets the eye. And if you think for a second that what's being presented to you isn't messed with and manipulated most of the time, and there isn't some form of control here on a whole entire aspect, including through the media and all that, then maybe we've got blinders going on and we need to sit back and maybe start asking some questions. And maybe I'm not the one you need to ask them to on where I got my info from. Okay? I give you what I get for a reason, and I tune into it because I'm quite curious. OJ is soulless. He does not have remorse. I can tell you that. There is zero remorse there. The karma is being cleared for Nicole and the Goldman family. For sure. That is my purpose in these. And I told you that. And that's why they come out, right? It's part of who I am. I shine light into the darkness to clear it. It's part of what I did for the ascension, too. Okay? So it's my pleasure. I love doing this. My intention in doing this is bringing all that to the light. And by golly, can we all root for Travis Barker? I'd like to save someone, especially that one. Why not? Let's bring him back. I have faith in that. I always have faith in that. I'm curious. Let's see how this plays out. We really don't know, do we? With energy, anything's possible. And the only ones out of that story that was passed on is the father Kardashian, who passed away from cancer years later, I believe, and Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. The rest are still alive. So, let's see how it plays out for the rest of them. And, yeah. So much love. What a tangled web we weave. That's it for your Who to What to When to Where Shining Light into the Darkness series. Till next time, stick around, stay, hang out, spread the love, like and subscribe. It's free for you and it helps me a lot, so why not? And you might just find something you like on my channel. You never know. Stick around. Till next time.